Schwartz with Schwartz Insurance Group here in Louisville, Kentucky, here with another in our video education series focused on employee benefits. The purpose of our series is to teach you about the basics of reform and other benefit concepts, to share the latest ideas and tactics so that you can be successful, and in short, to help you be a pro with regard to your benefits, communication, and culture. One of the biggest issues that we've run across lately is compliance. So obviously people are thinking about the Affordable Care Act and what the law requires you to do. But a lot of the conversations we've had with employers, while they start focusing on that, about whether pay or play and the employer mandate applies, about whether some of the other plan changes that need to be made are going to get them in trouble, the reality is most employers can set those issues aside. I mean, they're not going to be, they should not be the most concerning issue. The most concerning issue is the fact that in the past couple of years, meaning since healthcare reform was passed in 2010, the Department of Labor, through its division called the Employee Benefits Security Administration, EBSA, they have launched what's called the Health Benefits Security Project. And in short, that is an effort nationwide that they're going out. They hired 1,000 auditors, and they're going out basically to vigorously enforce the law. They want to make sure that employers are following the rules. And not just the Affordable Care Act rules, and that's really the point of what I want to get to is they may come out, and we've seen these letters. We've had a couple of clients go through this. So the letter, the first maybe 10 items might focus on the Affordable Care Act. Do you cover kids age 26 and below? Do you cover free preventive care? Have you handed out the notices for the availability of exchanges? Most employers are going to be able to put some big check marks next to those boxes and be done. But then the question turns to, well, while we're here, can we ask you a few other items? And that's where they start to dig a little deeper in terms of whether you have really taken to heart the fact that you are an employer and you have some fiduciary responsibilities from a communication standpoint. So what I wanted to just really share with you is a couple of suggestions in terms of how are you best prepared before that auditor knocks on the door. And again, you don't really have to be at this point a large employer. You don't have to be an employer that has a disgruntled employee that's turned in a complaint. It's expected right now that actually every employer may go through some form of a health plan audit within the next few years, like by 2016. So a couple of things. Number one, you ought to have one person or one team of folks that are really in charge of your benefit plans. Just somebody to be able to focus on this issue. Second, those folks ought to read through your policies and your documents and just make sure they have a basic understanding of what they are and what they require. Third is they really need to understand the legal requirements. A lot of those have to do with notices and communication, but the fact is they ought to understand what those requirements are. And certainly the new Affordable Care Act has some very specific things that self-funded employers want to be aware of. Usually fully insured plans, the carrier's taking care of those. You want to keep all your materials in one place. In a lot of cases, what happens is somebody might actually even have a binder with all of the documents that they need in one place, organized and easily accessible. You want to conduct just some internal reviews. You could call it an audit, but the fact is you're really practicing for, hey, what happens if somebody does knock on our door and start asking questions. You want to make sure that you have written procedures for all of the administrative functions that you're handling internally. That could be things like HIPAA, that could be claims handling if you are doing some things internally with claims. Sometimes an employer has an HRA plan or an FSA that they're administering internally. You want to make sure that those are really clear procedures. You also want to make sure that, that if you do have questions from employees that you respond to them, and that all the notices that you're providing or that you're required to provide, you do so on a timely basis. You know, if there are annual documents that you need to file, like a 5500, if you're over 100 participants on your plans, you want to make sure to do so. And then we would also want to point out there are certainly insurance policies that you should have in place. You should have fiduciary bonds. You should have employee benefit plan administration liability. I mean, none of these things are really that expensive, but they are things that you should have in place. You are really required to do so in order to maintain the safety of the plan. So, you know, one of the primary benefits of spending time on this issue before you actually have an audit is that you, number one, you can prepare and then you can actually make adjustments. You can improve to the point where you will not be found to be in willful violation of some of the things that the Department of Labor requires. So if we can be of any help to you in that process, we've taken it upon ourselves, especially for smaller employers who really typically are not dealing with this at all. They're not aware, and even if they are aware, they're not taking the time to do it. Let us know. We'd be happy to help. If you have other suggestions for topics for future videos, let us know. We'd be happy to address those. And again, look for the next in our series focused on employee benefits, so you too can be a pro with regard to your communication, benefits, and culture. Thank you.